They bolted the carbon fiber cylinder shut from the outside, trapping 5 men inside a space no larger than a minivan. There were no backup exits, no escape pods. There wasn't even a way to open the door from the inside, even if they somehow miraculously floated back to the surface. To steer this experimental vehicle down into the single most hostile environment on planet Earth, the CEO handed his pilot a $30 Logitech video game controller. As they dropped past 5,000 feet into the dark, freezing waters of the North Atlantic Ocean, the water pressure outside the hull reached utterly terrifying levels. Most submarines designed to survive these extreme depths are built entirely out of thick, forged titanium. But this one was built out of expired, experimental carbon fiber, a material that had never, in the history of human engineering, been successfully used for deep-sea diving. They were descending to 12,500 feet to view the wreckage of the RMS Titanic. At that depth, the pressure is equivalent to having the weight of the Eiffel Tower resting entirely on your shoulders. If a single crack, even the size of a human hair, formed in the carbon fiber, the entire submarine would violently implode in a fraction of a millisecond. But the CEO, Stockton Rush, didn't care. He charged billionaires $250,000 a ticket for the ultimate thrill ride, fully convinced he was the Elon Musk of the deep sea. When the smartest engineers on the planet begged him to stop, warning him that his submarine was a ticking time bomb, he didn't just ignore them. He fired them, he sued them, he silenced them, because Stockton Rush was convinced that the laws of physics didn't apply to him. To understand how 5 men ended up bolted inside a carbon fiber tube miles beneath the ocean surface, you have to understand the mind of Stockton Rush. Rush wasn't a fool. He was an aerospace engineer who graduated from Princeton University. He built his own experimental airplanes, and he grew up completely surrounded by wealth and privilege. But he was obsessed with one dangerous idea: the belief that government regulations were the enemy of progress. Rush looked at Silicon Valley billionaires like Elon Musk and saw a blueprint. In the tech world, the motto is, move fast and break things. If your software crashes, you just write a patch. Rush believed he could apply that exact same startup mentality to deep-sea exploration. He famously told a reporter, "At some point, safety is just pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed." For decades, deep-sea exploration was dominated by slow, cautious government programs. Submarines like Alvin were built like absolute tanks. They were incredibly safe, but they were also incredibly expensive, and they only held 2 or 3 people at a time. Stockton Rush saw an untouched market. He realized that if he could build a submarine big enough to hold 5 people, he could charge wealthy tourists hundreds of thousands of dollars for the ultimate adventure tourism package. The billionaire tourism industry was booming. People were paying fortunes to climb Mount Everest and fly into lower Earth orbit. Rush wanted to own the deep ocean, but there was a massive engineering problem standing in his way. To make a submarine large enough to hold 5 paying customers out of solid titanium would be too heavy to float and far too expensive to build. So, Rush decided to do something that literally no engineer in history had ever done. He decided to build a deep-sea submarine out of carbon fiber. In the world of deep-sea engineering, there is a reason every single submarine is shaped like a perfect sphere. A sphere distributes the crushing weight of the ocean equally across its entire surface. There are no weak points, but Stockton Rush couldn't fit 5 tourists inside a small sphere. So, to maximize his profit, he stretched the hull into a long, pill-shaped cylinder, completely compromising its structural integrity. And then, there was the material itself. Carbon fiber is a miracle material for the aerospace industry. It is incredibly strong when you pull on it, which makes it perfect for airplane wings and racing cars. But a submarine doesn't get pulled apart. It gets crushed together, and carbon fiber handles compression terribly. When metal is put under too much pressure, it bends and dents, giving you a warning that it's failing. When carbon fiber is put under too much pressure, it shatters instantly, like glass. To make matters even worse, OceanGate didn't even use fresh aerospace-grade carbon fiber. Stockton Rush bought expired, discounted carbon fiber from Boeing that was no longer certified for use in airplanes. He literally built a deep-sea submarine out of bargain bin scraps. Rush sold this as innovation. He told his investors and his passengers that OceanGate had partnered with NASA and Boeing to design the hull. Both NASA and Boeing later denied having any major role in the design. He proudly showed off the fact that the interior lights were bought from Campers World and that the entire 12,000-foot dive was controlled by a $30 wireless Logitech video game controller. But the most damning flaw wasn't the controller or the expired hull. It was the window. The single 5-inch thick acrylic viewport at the front of the sub was bought from a manufacturer who explicitly warned OceanGate that it was only certified to go down to 4,000 feet. Stockton Rush was planning to take paying passengers down to 12,500 feet. He was taking a window rated for the shallow end of the ocean and plunging it into the abyss. The tragedy of the Titan is that it was entirely preventable. Years before the submarine ever touched the water, the deep-sea exploration community knew it was a death trap. In 2018, OceanGate's own director of marine operations, a highly respected Scottish submarine pilot named David Lockridge, was asked to conduct a final safety inspection of the Titan. What Lockridge found horrified him. He discovered visible flaws in the carbon fiber. He discovered the viewport was only rated for 4,000 feet. He demanded that the hull be scanned using ultrasound equipment to check for hidden microscopic cracks. Stockton Rush refused, claiming the scanning equipment was too expensive and unnecessary. Instead, Rush claimed that he had invented a real-time acoustic monitoring system. He had installed microphones inside the hull that would listen for the sound of the carbon fiber snapping. He told his passengers that if the hull started to fail, the microphones would hear the microscopic cracks forming, giving them enough time to drop their weights and float back to the surface. Lockridge knew this was absolute insanity. Carbon fiber doesn't slowly bend. If the microphones heard a crack at 12,000 feet, it wouldn't be an early warning system. It would be the sound of their execution. When Lockridge wrote a scathing safety report warning that the sub could instantly kill everyone inside, Rush didn't fix the submarine. He fired Lockridge immediately, escorted him out of the building, and sued him for breach of contract to keep him quiet. But Lockridge wasn't the only one. Dozens of the world's top deep-sea engineers, including legendary Titanic explorer James Cameron, wrote letters to OceanGate begging them to get the submarine certified by an independent safety agency. Stockton Rush ignored them all. He claimed that safety regulations were holding back innovation, and slowly, dive by dive, the carbon fiber hull of the Titan was weakening. On the morning of June 18, 2023, Stockton Rush climbed into the Titan alongside 4 paying passengers, a British billionaire, a French Titanic expert, and a Pakistani businessman with his 19-year-old son. The hatch was bolted shut from the outside. At exactly 8 a.m., they began their descent into the abyss. For an hour and 45 minutes, everything seemed completely normal. They sent text messages to their surface ship, the Polar Prince, updating their depth. They listened to Stockton Rush's favorite music on a Bluetooth speaker. At 9:45 a.m., they were just 3,000 feet above the Titanic, descending through the freezing, pitch-black water. And then, absolute silence. At 9:45 a.m., the surface ship lost all communication, no text messages, no acoustic pings, nothing. At 11,500 feet, The pressure pushing against the carbon fiber was roughly 6,000 pounds per square inch. Somewhere in the hull, after years of microscopic damage from previous dives, a tiny flaw finally gave way. The structural collapse was so violent and so fast that the air inside the submarine was instantly compressed, heating up to the temperature of the surface of the sun. The implosion occurred in less than 1 millisecond. To put that into perspective, the human brain takes about 13 milliseconds to process physical pain. The 5 men inside the Titan were dead before their nervous systems could even register that something had gone wrong. There was no time to panic, no time to realize they were dying, just existence, and then nothing. Back on the surface, the crew of the Polar Prince didn't immediately call the Coast Guard. They waited hours, hoping the Titan was just experiencing a communications failure and would eventually float back to the surface. When they finally raised the alarm, it triggered one of the largest and most expensive international search and rescue operations in maritime history. For 4 days, the world was gripped by a terrifying countdown. News networks displayed a ticking clock, counting down the 96 hours of emergency oxygen supposedly left inside the sub. When Canadian aircraft dropped sonar buoys and detected banging noises in the ocean, the media exploded with hope. People believed the crew was alive, trapped at the bottom of the ocean, hitting the hull with wrenches to signal for help. But the United States Navy knew the truth almost immediately. During the Cold War, the Navy built a highly classified network of underwater microphones across the ocean floor, designed to track Soviet nuclear submarines. On Sunday morning, at the exact moment the Titan lost communication, that acoustic network picked up the distinct, unmistakable sound of a catastrophic implosion. The Navy knew the crew was dead on day 1. The frantic 4-day search wasn't a rescue mission. It was a recovery mission. A week later, deep-sea robotic drones finally discovered the shredded, twisted wreckage of the Titan scattered across the ocean floor. It was the tragic, inevitable result of a man who believed his ego was stronger than the laws of physics. Stockton Rush ignored the engineers. He ignored the whistleblowers. He ignored a century of deep-sea safety regulations, gambling 5 lives for the sake of corporate innovation.